So hey ladies, welcome to our No Bad Days Simple Wellness for Women show. I'm Jolene Fisher, your host. In every episode of the No Bad Days show, we'll give you a view into the life of another woman. She'll share her stories, her triumphs, her struggles, and the lessons she's learned along her path. And today we get two beautiful women who are sharing their struggles, their triumphs, and all the lessons they've learned as well. And my goal as your host is to bring topics to you that are relevant and encouraging, because I want you to be inspired to be the hero of your own story. And this is why I introduce you to brave women who are doing hard things, and they are truly living out the motto of the No Bad Days. So today, I'm excited to introduce to you Kelly White and Jenny Wigelsworth. They are excited to be on the No Bad Days show to teach you all about discovering your true selves. Kelly White is a wife, a mom of 3 boys, and an Enneagram coach. Learning more about herself through the Enneagram has helped her understand her triggers for stress and how to combat those. It has also helped her lean into her strengths of being loyal and supportive. Jenny Wigelsworth is a great friend of mine. We've grown close this last year as her and I share common faith and entrepreneurship. Jenny is married with 2 kiddos. And if you've ever heard of BarreU, she is the owner of that fitness studio and where she's owned and managed that for the last 5 years. Her passion is to empower people, help them break through the norm, and push them to be healthier and stronger than they've ever imagined. Jenny has been teaching and training on personality types since high school. That's pretty cool. And they together today will give you insights into the Enneagram and what those numbers mean and help you discover your true self as well. So welcome to the call, Kelly and Jenny.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. So together you guys are called the Enneagram Sisters or Enneasisters. And I know that this was something that came about, at the start of COVID, and you guys started, the wheels were turning and you created this business out of that. And we'll get to that in a minute. But first of all, I want to know more about you guys and where you come from and how you guys tick as sisters. I've never had 2 people on the call before, so this is pretty exciting. So give us some background. Jenny, why don't you?
Okay. So obviously we're sisters. We grew up in New Mexico, and I eventually ended up in Portland, Oregon. That's where I met my husband. And I have 2 kiddos, a son, Xavier, who's 9, and my daughter, May, who's 11. And yeah, we moved over to Idaho to be closer to my sister and her family and my parents. And I opened up the BarreU studio, which unfortunately the studio did close during COVID, but I keep it going online. And so BarreU online is still a running business, which I love. And yeah, personality. It's so fun to kind of get to the root of who we are, why we do what we do, what motivates us, what our struggles are. I love doing that as a fitness coach, and now as an Enneagram coach. It's almost even more fulfilling because you're getting to the heart of people, of who they are on the inside and into the outside. So yeah, that's just kind of who I am. I'm so passionate about empowering other people and about helping them discover their whys and helping them just understand how to relate to those that are around them. So that's me in a nutshell.
How about you, Kelly?
Yeah, we grew up in New Mexico, and then our family moved here to be closer to family. And then I fell in love very young and followed my boyfriend to Nebraska, and we got married at 19 and moved back here to be close to my parents. And yeah, I've been a stay-at-home mom since then, and just kind of doing the mom thing and enjoying life. And yeah.
And you became an Enneagram coach as well during all of that. When did you do that?
Yes. Well, I've always loved personality, and I've always been the one in my group of friends who's been the listener and the one that people come to with their problems. And I just found it a way that I can help other people, and helping them find out who they are and what their strengths are and their weaknesses. And I just love building other people up. And yeah.
That's great. So tell us a little bit more about the Enneagram.
So the Enneagram, it's 9 types. So if you haven't seen it, a lot of times you'll see the symbol of the Enneagram. So it's 9 personality types on a circle. And each type can either be disintegrating or moving towards healthy selves. And so we get deeper into that when you discover more about who we are as the Enneasisters and in coursework. But basically, we want you to find your type. So you're going to be 1 through 9 on the scale of the Enneagram. And we're gonna kind of go through those, but the reason we like the Enneagram, and like we mentioned before, we've done personality courses and workshops since high school. And I remember the first one I did, and it was the typical, quadrant one where you're like in this quadrant or this quadrant, or you might have 60% here, 30% here. And it kind of felt like a quadrant, like you are this quadrant. And it was helpful at the time because it was eye-opening and it was new for me and I loved doing it. And I taught high school students at one point, and then in college I taught high school students again. And it was really empowering for everybody that came to the workshop because it was the material and I loved it at the time. And then I did something else as I grew up. But then when I found the Enneagram, it was like, when I first heard about it, it was like, okay, another personality thing, they're all the same, but it really isn't the same. In the Enneagram, it really allows room for you to understand yourself, not just in a box, to understand yourself as you have so many different forms of who you are or who you can become. And you have opportunity to grow. And if you believe in a supreme being, that's a whole nother level of growth and deeper living. So I feel like the Enneagram gives you room to be a human being, and it shows you where you're disintegrating, which is basically becoming an unhealthy version of yourself, or integrating into a healthy version of yourself. You're not stuck, where I feel like a lot of personality courses, they're great and they have great information, but oftentimes I felt stuck. Like, I'm really just this box, like that's who I am. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, to further that, I just feel like the Enneagram really goes over the ups and downs. Like even in one day, you might have all your ups and downs. You might see, oh, wow, I did great here, and then I plummeted. And the Enneagram shows you, well, this is why you do that. And here's how we can help you maybe have some more of those ups and maybe focus on your strengths a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I've taken the Enneagram tests before online, but I took your guys's yesterday on your website, Enneasisters.com, and found out I was an 8. So I know we'll go through those numbers here in a little bit, but maybe you guys can educate me a little bit more on that in a little bit.
Yeah. Speaking of that, a lot of times when people take it the first time, and this is something we're also really passionate about and what sets us apart when you are diving into understanding your personality, is a lot of other businesses out there. They're great resources, but they kind of leave you hanging. Like, here's a quiz, take it. Okay, good luck. Hopefully that's your number. Whereas for Enneasisters, we really want you to funnel into who you are, like we were talking about before. And the first time you take the quiz, most of the time you're going to mistype yourself because for a number of reasons, right? Depending on what you're doing that day, depending on where your mindset is, depending on who you think you are, but maybe aren't. So a lot of reasons can throw your number off. And we encourage you to take the test a couple times. And then on top of that, after you've taken it a couple times, we give you tools to, again, further funnel you to your correct number. And if you go through our courses, even if you just buy our personality packet, you're going to get more information to help you funnel to that right number. You're also going to get information on wing types, which, how do you put it? I love how you put it. It's like, it's not your core personality, but
I like to think of the wings as your seasoning. And so you have your core type, and then one of the numbers next to you is going to add a little bit more to your type and give it just a little bit more power, a little more strength when you need it.
Yeah, so if I'm an 8, my wings would be a 9 and a 7. And then
they could be.
They could be,
Yeah, so some people are strict 8s, and then some people will be an 8 with a wing 7, and some people will be an 8 with a wing 9. Very rarely will you have both wings, but a super balanced person, I hate to use that word, but that's kind of what I think of, a super balanced person, or maybe even somebody who just sees the world more evenly would have both wing types. But that's very rare. So we can go into the types if you are ready for that.
Let's do it.
Okay. So type 1 is the moral perfectionist, also known as the reformer. I am a type 1. So since most of you don't know me, if you think of a type 1, think of like the TV show Friends. Monica is a type 1. She's super clean, super organized. She alphabetizes her CDs. You know, that is your typical type 1. They know what they want in life. They are black and white about most things, especially in their average areas of life. They're just level-headed. They also, of course, have healthy and disintegrating arenas. And we won't go into that right now, but that is a very important part of understanding the types, because we all have that, right? We all have areas and times where we're disintegrating, and understanding those whys, I think, is one of the most powerful things about the Enneagram. Because if you understand why you're disintegrating, you can pull out of that a lot faster. And that's going to help you with your relationship with your spouse, with your coworkers, with even your kiddos, you know, the way that you're parenting them. So all of those things can be so helpful if you understand them, but without the right tools, you're kind of left thinking, you know, blaming yourself and not understanding why you do those things. So that's one of the greatest reasons why we love the Enneagram. Type 2.
Yeah, type 2 is known as the helper. The helper is super supportive, committed. Their motto is kind of, how can I help you? They want to be there for you. They want to supply things that you need. They also want to be acknowledged and given credit for the help that they give. They're great listeners, and they really do nurture and care for the people in their lives that they love. They also don't take criticism very well. Of all the types, they are the most sensitive towards criticism. So that's the helper, type 2.
And that's important to know, because like we were saying before, if you know your triggers, like her husband is a type 2. So if you didn't know that your husband was a type 2, you might, especially as a type 1, because I'm very like, this is how it is. And if I was married to a type 2, I might not even know that my very pointed statements are hurting his feelings constantly. But understanding that he's a type 2, even as a sister-in-law, I'm very careful about how I word things, and that helps our relationship. Mm-hmm. Type 3 is the successful achiever. So a lot of the achievers are like, when you think of high school, maybe you were the head cheerleader. These are the social butterflies, referring back to the Friends TV show, is Rachel. So Rachel is the number 3. She's always in the middle of everything, whether she wants to be or not, right? She gets herself into trouble. She's always in the middle of something. And that is the successful achiever. They're the ones on Instagram that are like, yep, look at my likes, 150, look at me go. You know, they're those influencers that are just popular, and they can't help themselves. So those are the type 3s.
All right, type 4 is the romantic individualist. So this is your type that they're very creative, they're very artistic, they want to express themselves in a very unique way. They don't want to be like anybody else. They want to be their independent selves. They can be moody. They can be easily depressed. They're always searching for their identity, and they want to be authentic. Their core longing is to be loved for who they truly are. So that's type 4.
Yep. And type 4, it's funny because Kelly and I have been doing this for so long that when we meet someone, within about 30 minutes of the conversation, we pretty much know your type. And type 4s are always so obvious because they're always those ones that are like, and look, my tattoo is different than anyone else's in the room, you know? They're beautiful people. They're the artists that you just love because they're so over the top. Those are 4s. Mm-hmm. The 5 is the investigative thinker. They're the thinkers. You know them. They're those people that research, that know everything, right? When you're in conversations with them, they're like, oh yeah, I heard so-and-so say that 5 years ago on Sunday. Mm-hmm. And they get everything. They remember everything. They analyze everything. They're the thinkers. Our mom is a thinker. And again, going back to relationship, I always didn't understand why she didn't read us bedtime stories, why she didn't do like the typical mom things. And that I think was hard for me, being a type 1, like needing those words of affirmation and not really understanding. I mean, I love my mom. We're both so close to my mom, but she wasn't like what I thought a mom was like in those ways. She was great in other ways. And then when I found out she was a 5, everything made sense. And I know that we're selling this and it's a part of our business, but it was mind-blowing. Like understanding that she was a 5 helped me like love her more. I mean, I already loved her, but it helped me really understand her way of loving. And that was just huge. And I think it can be huge for anyone that's watching too. If you have any like hard relationships that you just wish worked better, it could be that they're loving you in the way that they know how. And that knowing that knowledge can like set that relationship to such a better place.
Mm-hmm. I also have a son who's a type 5. And one thing that really was eye-opening for us is knowing that he really needs alone time. And that's something we found through the Enneagram, that he gets really worn out and overstimulated when we're out like all day. And we're like, what's going on with him? Well, he needs to be by himself for a while to rejuvenate and recharge. And so that was really helpful.
Yeah.
And type 6 is the loyal guardian. And that's the type that I am, the most loyal type on the Enneagram. I really like to be supportive. I'm usually the supportive friend. I don't like a lot of attention on me. Type 6s are very prepared, very cautious. Even though we're loyal, we don't trust easily. And so that's something that I've struggled with. We're also kind of the worry warts. We like to make sure we know everything before we go into something. We want to have a plan, and then a backup plan for the plan. So that's the 6's downfall sometimes. It can be helpful, but if you can get into a cycle of not positivity with the worrying. But
yeah, and we talked about this, and we do a lot of research, in our downtime, whatever that means. But we watched this other group that we like, and they were doing a video on COVID, and the type 6 during COVID's like, I told you guys, I knew this was going to happen. I tried to warn you. So they're like such the worry ones, but yeah.
So you're saying there's a funny video out there about all the Enneagram types?
Yes. And we use those videos in our trainings. So if you come to our trainings or even at our any events, you'll see the videos. So they help you better relate to the types if you've never been exposed to Enneagram. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Well, as a side note, my husband's a 6. So
okay.
When you were talking about all those things, I'm like, yep, check.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Once you know the number, you start to see them in the people that you're closest to, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Type 7 is entertainer. The entertaining optimist is what we like to call that number. And my husband is a 7. And just to give you an example of what a 7 does, so recently we talked about 3 expenses that were kind of big that we could do. And I don't know why. So when I am in a healthy mode, I kind of move into the 7 zone, like we were talking about. If you go through our coursework, we'll explain that further. But when I'm in a really good place, I become that entertainer person, that fun person, and which is his number. And he loves that. He loves that, Jenny. And so I was not thinking, 3 options. Should we get AC? Because we do not have AC in our house, living in the Northwest. I just feel like it is an added expense that we don't need. And I'm kind of a minimalist. That explains that. 2, a pool and a hot tub, which is a huge expense, but also could be fun for this time of year. And they're all kind of the same. They're all summer options. And 3, a boat. Well, he knows I've been opposed to getting a boat because I'm such a financial planner, and it's like the worst financial decision anyone makes. And plus it gets you sick and a whole bunch of other things. Anyway, so I give him these options. thinking he would want the AC. Like, that's practical. It's good for resale. But I'm talking to a 7. What do you think he said? Of course he wants the boat. Like, hello. So now, I'm not kidding you. Since we talked about that was like 3 days ago, nonstop photos to my phone. What about this boat? What about this boat? So just, if you're married to a 7, be very careful about what options you throw out there.
Yeah, they are all about fun.
They're all about fun. And this is like them in a nutshell. So I was talking about this with my mom, who is a practical thinker, right? And she's like, why would he want a boat over AC? That doesn't make any sense. And that was like perfect 5 response, right? And then I called Carl, my husband, and I was like, honey, my mom said she doesn't understand why you wouldn't choose AC over a boat. And he says, we're going to have so much fun on the water. And it's like, okay, fun. Fun always wins with a 7. Yeah. So that's 7 in a nutshell.
I swear I have a wing of a 7 then, or I've tested as a 7 before on another test. So, I might be that.
Yeah, totally.
Get it. Putting in AC is not sexy. It's not fun. I'd be like, no AC, boo.
Yes.
All right.
I think you could be 8-7 or 7-8. That could definitely be a possibility.
All right, so let's talk about 8. 8 is the protective challenger. This type is very magnetic, natural leaders. They're strong, assured, frank. They always know who they are, and they are themselves without caring what anybody else thinks about them. They say what's on their mind. They're power-oriented and protective, which is a quality I really love about 8s, is that they really protect the people that they love, and they will do anything for those people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and an 8, I feel like right away, it may not be their best quality, but they're so forward. So if you work with a type 8, or if you have an 8 in your family, or if you're an 8, Jolene, I don't think you are an 8. I think you have an 8 wing. But the 8s, they always say things that everyone else in the room is like, did that person just say that out loud? Like, that's what I think whenever I'm around an 8. I'm like, that made me so uncomfortable.
Yeah, that is definitely not me. I do not like confrontation. I'm like, no. Yeah. I'm forward when I need to be with my kids, or I guess with Adam, but not necessarily in all situations with all people.
Yeah. So type 8, the challenger. And my husband has a type 8 wing. He's a 7-8. You guys are very similar.
Okay. Yeah, I worked with an 8 boss once, so I know what that personality feels like, and it's really hard in some aspects if they don't know how to be a healthy 8.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And healthy is the key. Like we were saying, obviously we want us all to be in our healthy place. And understanding that, like even that blunt forward statement, if you were in a healthy place, you probably wouldn't say it the way that your disintegrating self would say it. So, right. Again, when I'm prefacing that, it's to say that 8 is obviously disintegrating because they don't know social boundaries. Mm-hmm. Type 9 is the peacemaker. The peaceful mediator is what we call that. So the peaceful mediator, one of the great things about the type 9 is they understand all the other types. They can relate and empathize with all the other types, and no one else can. So when you're around a 9, it's usually that person that really can read a room, like nobody's business. They understand and empathize with every single number, which can be hard on a 9. It can be really taxing for them to take on that type of energy, but they're also like the best counselors, and, they're really good friends. And when they're in their healthiest place, they're the mediators. They're those people in your family that are always like, okay, I'll call mom, I'll tell her this, then I'm going to call you. We're going to work this out. So yeah. And they're always the people that it's like you hate to love them, you love to hate them, because I actually was hanging out with a friend of mine who is a 9 yesterday. And I just wanted her to say, yes, I agree. That's horrible. I can't believe that person did that, And she's like, well, I can see their point. I can see how in this situation, it's like, no, you can't see everybody's point.
Yeah, they always see both sides of every angle.
But, you gotta love that about them, though, because they rarely have a bad thing to say about anything going on. So those are the 9 types. We went through them pretty fast.
Yeah.
Okay, so after you know your type, what's the next step for most people?
So like we said before, we really recommend that you jump onto our website and take the quiz. It's completely free. And so once you take the quiz, and like you said, you tested 8, so I would take it again. And when you take it, you want to look over that page briefly, because you get a page that talks about your type. It's basically like a brief summary. It's a 1-page. You can read it in 10 seconds. But if that doesn't sound like you, then retake the test. And when you retake the test, we say to think about it when you're a child, like a teenager. Don't try to answer it as you would as an adult, knowing what you should answer. Try to really think about, who is my inner self, my inner child that wants to help me understand my true self. Then once you take it, you're given the option to purchase a packet. So that packet is gold. It's basically us combining all of our skill sets to give you an efficient, easy to read, easy to understand packet. And by jumping on this call with us and being live with us, or if you're watching this later, you're going to be able to take the quiz, and we give you a code. So normally they're $29, but if you have that code, they're only going to be $9. So for $9, you're getting an extremely valuable packet. And that packet will talk about the wings. It'll talk about your motivations, your fears. And we really do get to like the psychological root of who you are. And do you want to talk about like the self-care stuff?
Yeah, my favorite page in the packet is the self-care page, which is the last page in the packet. After you've gone through your stress, your growth, your motivations, it's really important to have some tools that you can use when you're in stress that really help you take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. So there's some ideas on there for you to try, some things to add into your schedules and routines, and just things that will help you stay healthy and in that zone that you want to be in.
Yep.
Okay, I have a question for you from the audience. Amy's asking, if you are a 1, can you be a wing 9?
Yes, I'm a 1 wing 9. Yes. Yeah. To answer your question, yes. And again, going through the coursework, like if she wanted to purchase the packet 1, we will talk about what it means to be a 1-9. And the more you dive into it, the more you'll be able to see it and understand it and know that that's you. So yes.
Okay. Yeah, because it's on a circle. So if you're a 1, your wings are going to be an 8 or no, a 2 or a 9.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we ask you questions in the quiz, and I know you already took it, Jolene. So when you take it again, hopefully you become a 7, if that's who you are. But we explain why that happens. But when you do get the packets and you see, 1 wing 9, for me, it was like right away, because I understand, I can read a room really well, and some of the other attributes that 9s have, I have, but I don't have the 2 wing at all. Like I'm strictly a 1-9, and the 1-9 is known as the optimist. So if you see yourself as very optimistic, very like, not only is your glass half full, it's like flowing over, like you just see the world as always getting better. And that is me. And Kelly can attest to this. Like even when like worst case scenarios going on, like COVID and everything else, it's like, oh, you know what? This is the good thing that's happening. Like that's just my personality. So yes, you can be a 1 wing 9.
So Amy is my sister who asked that question. Okay. So it's kind of funny because I know her so well. And and she's watching right now as we talk. But she's an empath. She feels people. Mm-hmm. And takes on feelings that other people have. How does that fit into this if you know you're an empath? Are you typically more of a 9? But I mean, is that where 9s typically discriminate in? Okay.
Yeah, 9s definitely feel all the feelings of everyone around them. They hate conflict. yeah, they want to avoid conflict. They can be really procrastinators. Yeah, they're definitely empaths for sure.
So if she was a direct 9, like for me, I'm not a procrastinator. So I know that my strong-willed 1 is my core, but my 9 is a wing because unlike just 1 personalities, they don't care about other people. I mean, they do, but it's not like 9 because I deeply care. And even though I can come into conflict strongly with people sometimes, my 9 wing makes me do it in such a soft, subtle way because I really do care and I can feel the energy of other people. In fact, it made me a really powerful fitness coach because I could feel the energy of the room. And sometimes I would change the music just based off of the energy of the room. So yeah, the 9s feel, they really feel.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Jenny, that's probably why we're such close friends. You remind me of my sister and I didn't even know it.
That's cool.
Yay! It's meant to be.
Nice.
That's awesome.
And I'm glad she's joining. It's kind of cool to have her on, even though I can't see her.
Yeah, she said she purchased your 1 packet this morning.
Oh, yay. Yeah, I did reach out to her. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So tell
So
us.
then, go ahead.
Jenny. You go ahead.
I was just going to say, so then once you kind of go through that packet, we don't have this online right now, but we do offer leadership training. So if you have a group of people, whether it's church, whether it's you and your close friends, whether it's, team to get closer, we offer team training. We also are going to offer 6-week courses, which we don't have online yet, but will be online very soon. And that's where you can go at your own pace and go deeper into your number week by week. And you have access to us as your coaches. And then the other thing, which is the Ennea event. So the Ennea event is something kind of fun. It's our way of taking the Enneagram into something socially fun. Why not explore the Enneagram in a fun event where we can get to know each other and get to know ourselves. So that's what the Ennea event is all about. And it's coming up. It's September 17th, 2020. And we're doing it at Find Brood on Sherman in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So if you're in the area or if you're looking for a super fun thing to do in September and you're still in lockdown in your state, this is a great way to plan a trip. Idaho's open, so you can come to Idaho. You can stay the weekend. It's a Thursday night, so make a girls trip of it. It's going to be so much fun. We have games planned. Of course, you're going to get to take the quiz again. We have a ton of fun ways for you to explore yourself, for you to get to know your girlfriends if they come, and you'll get to take home a packet. And the fun twist is we are having she's a psychologist / mixologist, which is a very rare find, who is coming to mix drinks based on your personality. So you're going to get a cocktail that's like your personality in a cocktail.
What would it be as a 7, just off the top, if I were truly a 7? A pina colada.
Right.
Yeah, it probably is something fun. I mean, a 7 has to be like an over-the-top, super fun, yummy drink, right? It has to be.
Yeah, definitely. Sure. What do you think a 1 would be?
I think a 1 is going to be like
classic.
Something classic, like, I don't know, gin and tonic or a Grey Goose dirty martini or something that everyone knows that is going to be good and you don't have to risk anything.
But if you're a 1 and you're like, I don't want that drink, I want number 7s.
Yeah.
That could be like we talked about. So it's actually, we're hoping this works because it's psychological, but we have a fun way of getting you to tell us kind of where you're at, your mood. We ask a ton of questions to get the cocktail. So when I'm in a good place, I'm more like a 7. So I probably would get a 7 drink at a party like that. Mm-hmm. That's how it works.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So September 17th, at what time?
September 17th at 6 o'clock. It's 6 to 8, lasts about 2 hours, give or take.
Okay. I'll put the link in the YouTube and podcast description and inside this Facebook group, inside the comments. Or Jenny, you're part of the group. you could just drop the link in the comments to sign up for that. It's $45, right?
49.
49. Okay.
Yep.
Great. Well,
Yeah,
good.
it's super. I mean, we wanted to keep it pretty inexpensive just to get people there and to get people. I mean, our main purpose is for you to know your true self. So it's just another way for you to get to know who you are. So we're hoping a ton of people come and enjoy it and then just continue their journey.
Yeah, ladies, if you're watching from Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, or you want to fly in, I'm already going. I got my ticket. So let's make this a fun women's night out. We all need this. Idaho is a total breath of fresh air if you've been in a more of a lockdown state. I live a couple miles from the border and like 5 miles from the border. As soon as you enter into Idaho, it's like, wow, this is just unreal. Nobody, not that this is necessarily a good thing, but they don't seem to be having issues with COVID like we do in Washington State, but you don't have to wear a mask to go shopping. It's like, wow, it's so weird. It's like walking into a different kind of Twilight Zone in a good way.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, and if things are different at that time, we'll make sure that, you know, we'll do all the precautions. But as of now, everything seems great and we're limiting it. So that's the other thing just to keep in mind. If you're listening to this now, I would buy a ticket today because they are selling and we are keeping it at a certain number, not only for COVID, but because we want to make this as great as possible so that you are getting that attention and we are answering questions and all of those things. So I have a feeling it's going to sell out pretty fast. So if you're even thinking about it, I would get your ticket today.
Awesome. Well, ladies, what else? I mean, we've talked about a lot of things, but what would you like to add? I never like to leave these calls without giving you like final say of things that you want to impart upon all of us in terms of your wisdom and what maybe we haven't covered yet.
I think the whole point of learning about yourself and others is to increase compassion, really. And by that, I mean walking along people where they're at instead of expecting them to be someone who they're not. Mm-hmm. And that's a big thing. We definitely don't want people finding out their type and saying, oh, you should be this way. We want people finding out their type and realizing, oh, this is who Jenny is. This is who this person is. And I can walk alongside them in compassion and help them and be there for them.
Yes. It's very freeing. Like I said before, you know, we've been doing this for years. I've been doing personality workshops for 20 years. That ages me. But we both feel so strongly about the way that we are doing it, because the way that we are doing it is to teach you exactly what Kelly said, to understand who you are. And it is so eye-opening. It helps you love the people in your life and understand the people that maybe you don't like in a whole nother light. And I think that that's the power of it. Mm-hmm. The power of it is that knowledge, and it empowers you to be a better person, but it also empowers you to give people grace that aren't like you, you know, and they don't love the same way that you love, and they don't lead the same way that you lead. And like Kelly said, some of these personalities, they need breaks. Kelly and I are total opposites on the Enneagram, but we're best friends because we know how to love each other. And that's kind of the whole point.
Can you guys explain a little bit more about how you can figure out your children's Enneagram type?
So once they're a certain age, and we don't put a number on that, but once you feel like they're mature enough to answer the questions in the course, we say that you have them take it just like we would. You know, her oldest son took it. My oldest daughter took it. She's only 11, but if you think that your kids know themselves, are old enough to be able to take that quiz, and you can just test it, you know, and see. And if they test and it's this random number and you look at it and you're like, that is not my child, then obviously maybe they're not ready. But we, of course, figured out our kids before they took the test. But when they took it, my daughter, for instance, she's a 2. So 2 being the helper, it was pretty obvious that she was a 2 or would have a wing 2. But it does help in our parenting. Like my son is a 7, so he's just like his dad. And in parenting, the children understanding their numbers helps so much because you can't parent them the same, right? And you hear parents talk about that a lot, like, oh, well, every child's different, and it's true. And figuring that out is challenging. But when you know their number, you have tools. It's like you've been given gold, and you can take that gold and you can be like, oh, okay, that's why they're doing that. I'm seeing this, this rhythm to her or that rhythm to him. And now I can parent this way. And guess what? It works so much better because, for instance, the fun child, if I take his fun away, that's the consequence. Whereas my daughter, she doesn't care. Like, she's going to go read, like that wasn't a punishment. So it's like really understanding their types does help you become a better parent. And for me, it's helped with me feeling less guilty because, you're kind of thrown into this psychological dialogue with children and you don't really know what you're doing half the time. And so having these numbers gives you handles to be able to parent them in the way that they need to be parented the best. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
yeah,
okay.
Definitely did. Kelly, do you have anything to add to that?
I'm just going to say, knowing their motivations really helps you parent them differently. Like, I also have a son that's a 7, and for him, it's all about like playing jokes on his brothers and being silly, and he wants the most fun that he can have in the day. And his 5 brother does not take that very well because he's very serious and doesn't want to be silly. And so there's that dynamic that I understand better now that I know their numbers.
Oh, that's really helpful. Yeah. Good. So I have a couple gals who are watching. Gracie says, I'm a 9, but I don't feel like either an 8 or a 1 is my wing. Is there a way to find out which one is my main wing? Or you said she could be a true 9 too, right?
Yeah, she could be a true 9. And if I were talking to her in person, I would ask her how she figured out she was a 9, and just to make sure that she is a 9. So if she wants to take our test a couple times, that would be great. If she hasn't, if she knows for sure that she's a 9 and she's done the Enneagram study before with someone else, that's also great. You can be just a 9. It is kind of rare, but it's possible. So if she doesn't feel she's a 1 or an 8 and she feels like she's a true 9, it is possible.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you talked about direction of disintegration or direction of integration. And in the studies I've done in the past on the Enneagram, the 9 is a little bit different in how they disintegrate in terms of stress. So they would go to a 6, it says.
So I would, if I was talking to this person, Gracie, you said? So if you feel like you're disintegrating into the 6 number, for sure, and that's another way to test it is your disintegrations and your integrations. And then you also go to a 3 when you are healthy. So if you feel like, that achiever, if you have that achiever inside of you, maybe in work, it might just be in your role wherever you are as a person socially. If you feel that achiever in you as a healthy side of you, then you could be a strict 9. Interesting thing about a 9 is 6 and 3 is they're all on the triangle. They're the only ones that are fully connected together, whereas all the other numbers, they're not connected in the same way. So there's something distinctly different about 3, 6, and 9.
Yeah, that's helpful. Gracie says, I know for sure I'm a 9. I've studied for a couple years the Enneagram. So.
Okay, great. Yeah, so you're probably just a 9. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what is the promo code for getting the packet down to the 9?
So when you take our quiz, it will give you the code at the end of the quiz. But I can give it to you now.
Right.
It's Discover, and then in all caps, YOU. So Discover You.
Okay. Discover You. All one word, caps, YOU.
Yes. And then just to further that, Gracie, if you did get our packet, just to say, like, let's just say that you hadn't studied it before, once you have our packet, it helps you go through that. So you would really look at the wing page, you would study it, and you would probably from that funnel to believe, oh, well, I don't have either one of those wings. So in the packet, like we said before, it's very efficient and full with all of the information you would need to know, because we've done all the hard work for you so that you just have to have the packet, and then you can resource it as much as you want.
Yeah, and she did say, as another side, definitely go to a 6 in stress and an achiever of 3 when she's healthy. So sounds like you're a true 9.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And it's probably very empowering to know that.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, no, perfect. Okay, so as far as the directions of disintegration and directions of integration, I know that you, in the beginning, you said that would be a lot to go through, but I think it would be fun to just talk about, and I have the numbers right in front of me if you want me to just say them, and then I can type them into a comment later. But what I have, and tell me if I'm wrong, is a 1 disintegrates into a 4.
Mm-hmm.
A 2 disintegrate, or a 4 disintegrates into a 2. A 2 into an 8. An 8 into a 5. A 5 to a 7, and a 7 into a 1. And again, the 9 is a little bit different. A 9 goes to a 6 in times of stress.
Yes.
And then in direction of integration or growth, when we're healthy, a 1 goes to a 7 to a 5, a 5 to an 8, 8 to a 2, 2 goes to a 4, and a 4 to a 1, a 9 to a 3.
Yeah,
Does that sound
sounds
right?
Yeah.
I just got that from the Enneagram Institute website.
Yeah.
I think that's all.
Yes.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay.
And yeah, like Kelly was saying before about her sons, that's so key, because even just talking about where they disintegrate and integrate, like you could see how the 5 and 7 would have a hard time with each other because they're opposites, like they're extreme opposites.
Yeah.
And so that is challenging as a parent, because one's integrating and doing great and the other's disintegrating, and you're like, no, okay, how can I parent this better? You know, and it's kind of fun and challenging at the same time. But again, having those tools is so powerful for as a parent and as a spouse.
I was going to say, talk about the relationship with your significant other and how that makes a difference, knowing your number and their number. What if you are complete opposites? Like you just said, a 7 and a 5.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things when you have the tools and you go over, you know, what your motivations and your fears are, having those conversations. Like my husband and I, we have 2 times a week where we go over things, you know, things that are bothering us, things that we're struggling with, things that we as believers want to pray over. And we're not exact opposites, but for us, he's a 7, you know, and I'm a 1. And so I actually grow to him, but it's hard for me to get there sometimes, especially because I can be such a workaholic, and I put a lot of energy into my work, which is a good thing. And we talk about that, like good things can get in the way of great things, right? Your marriage is most important. And so I try to, like, even though my mind is like, I just want to work, I just let it go and decide to have fun with him, even though that wouldn't be my initial, but that's me growing. And same with him. For him to grow, it's to put the fun aside and become more like a 5 and be more, you know, intuitive and analytical. And that is what he does at work. So it's hard for him to do that with me at home, but I don't see that, you know. It's like when he comes home, it's fun all the time, and I'm still working. And so it's really hard for me. The communication, knowing that has helped us, because I can communicate, hey, I want you to know that me putting my work aside is huge for me. I know you don't see that because that's your go-to, but for me, that's huge. And I want you to know that this is me sacrificing. And so having those open dialogues, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think talking about it is the most important thing. When you can explain, okay, this is what motivates me. These are my expectations for this and that. And you can get support from your partner or whoever you're with and working with, and just understanding each other.
Mm-hmm.
Great. That's awesome, you guys. Well, I think we can wrap up the call. We have a lot of comments you guys can go back through later that were in the group. A lot of people have taken your test so far. A couple people have bought the packets already, so that's exciting.
Yay.
And,
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, so Terry said she took the test earlier and just bought the packet. So excited to get that info and learn more about herself. So that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for imparting all of your knowledge and wisdom about the Enneagram to us, and just getting people to know you better and understand how you guys tick to help us understand how we tick. So I really appreciate your time today, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on here.
You bet. Have an awesome weekend.
Yeah,
You too.
Okay, bye ladies.
Bye.